Hello, people of YouTube land, and those that are part of the Cringe Crew Gaming Community Discord, those that follow Ted, Hayley, and I on Twitch, and those that are listening to this on Spotify when we eventually upload this on Spotify into whatever, wherever the hell we decide to post this. This is the Cringe Crew Gaming Movie Review Podcast, and this is the last day of, well, I'm not gonna say this is Hayley's pick because Hayley had Sushi pick this goddamn movie, but last of like Hayley's picks.
True.
So yeah, this is horror week. I'm at month because it's spooky season, and we decided to do The Ring. Now, this isn't the original 1998.
I just made $5.
Movie directed by Hideo Nakata. No, this is the 2002 remake directed by Gore Verbinski, who's known for directing this, and also the Pirates of the Caribbean films, the first three.
Interesting.
Oh, and he also directed Rango. That being said, both movies are based on the 1991 novel of the same name, written by Koji Suzuki, and this was released October 18th, 2002, had a budget of $48 million and a box office return of $249.3 million. Now, this movie stars Naomi Watts as Rachel Keller, Martin Henderson as Noah Clay, David Dorfman as Aidan Keller, Davy Chase as Samara Morgan, Brian Cox as Richard Morgan, and I think that's all that really. Oh, yeah, Shannon Cochran is Anna Morgan. I think that's all that really fucking matters. I know what's her name from NCIS or Criminal Pot. God damn it!
It's NCIS. Yeah,
NCIS,
Abby was in this for like 8 seconds.
Yeah, and apparently Martin Henderson's from like Grey's Anatomy. But the only other people that I really am familiar with from this movie is Naomi Watts, who's been in a whole bunch of different movies, including Mulholland Drive. Obviously, Brian Cox from Super Troopers and The Ringer. And Davy Chase from, she played Samantha Darko in Donnie Darko. I think she also was in S. Darko as well. But, that being said, The Ring went into production without a script completed. 3 drafts of the screenplay were done before a entire script rewrite was done, and Gore Verbinski decided to do a remake of the movie after somebody actually sent him a VHS copy of the Japanese film, and he saw it as intriguing, pulp, and avant-garde. Other people that were that would have gotten the role of Rachel Keller were Gwyneth Paltrow, Jennifer Connelly, and Kate Beckinsale, which I could see Jennifer Connelly and Kate Beckinsale getting that. I cannot see Gwyneth Paltrow in a horror film.
Yeah, probably not.
That just that sounds very like weird and out of character. But that being said, apparently this movie paved the way for a bunch of Asian and Japanese, basically like American remakes of Japanese horror, including The Grudge, Dark Water, Shudder, and The Eye. And you could also add Pulse to that list. But that being said, that's basically pretty much what I got.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, also for like the marketing, apparently physical VHS copies were also randomly distributed outside of movie theaters by placing tapes on top of windshield of people's cars. So that's one way to, freak people the fuck out after this movie when they just see a random VHS tape on their fucking.
Yeah, this was
That's the idea.
this was pretty early in my life, but honestly, like this was a time in horror filmmaking, and I remember like the street team marketing for this was absolutely nuts.
Yeah. And I remember like a bunch of people coming up to me, it's like, this is the scariest movie ever made. Like, it's so freaking terrifying. I remember the huge hype of this, although, I was, a little bit older, but still kind of, young in the scheme of things. Like, I was like, what, 12, 11 when it came out?
Yeah, I think this like this felt super 2002. I feel like if you've lived from a certain point, you get it. There was a small window of time where horror movies went from like really shitty looking old movies to, oh shit, this is scary, and I think this was among the first ones that like were a part of that shift. Not to say horror didn't exist first, but
Well, even if it didn't like fully go into that, it was that in between state of like really shitty, but then developing into something that's actually good. I don't think that it was scary per se, but it had its moments and its level of like, hey, this isn't a crappy 80s or 90s horror movie.
Yeah, like it's not that horror movies were bad beforehand. It's not like they've all been good after, but there was definitely like a strategy shift with how horror movies were done, and this was right in that first wave.
I think it also helps that horror movies, like the genre of horror, started getting a little bit more respect, especially after like Silence of the Lambs won like Best Picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like I think studios were actually like giving horror films like a budget and something that they're able to work with, as opposed to things with like amateur actors and
right.
Yeah.
So that being said, I guess likes and dislikes. What do you want to go with first?
Sure. I think likes is a good place to start. I think your list is going to be short as Stallman, so you might as well run it.
Okay. I will say that Naomi Watts, with what she's given, because some of quite a bit of the characters in this are like one dimensional. But that being said, I think she did a fantastic job. As being like a journalist that's helping out like her friend to figure out what caused her daughter's death. And on top of that, she also is very much a caring mother, and at points sees that she still cares about the father of her child who's in the but I think like her acting overall is pretty good. I think the person that plays her son, his acting's actually not bad overall. Usually like child actors suck. Like, I'm sorry, but like a lot of child actors are like really goddamn terrible, especially in horror films. But I think he definitely knocked it out of the park. I think the makeup, whoever did the makeup work in this, did a fantastic job as well.
For the most
part. There, yeah.
Kid looks like he was strung out there for a little bit, so I mean, there are times.
I do like that the mystery of like how everything is put together is interesting enough to actually keep you watching, because this isn't like this isn't an unwatchable film by any means. Like, we'll get into like why I'm kind of like teeter-tottery when we get into dislikes, but
I'm gonna make another $5.
I think the I think the mystery throughout the entire thing is very intriguing, and there are special effects wise, there are a couple good special effects, especially at the end when Samara comes out of the TV, and then they also do like stop motion where she just like is kind of like glitches all over the place. I think those are really well done as well. Actually, no, I shouldn't say stop motion. I should actually say a stop edit because that's, I mean, it's the same fucking thing. But whatever. That being said, you guys can go.
How about it, Hayley?
Honestly, I had never seen this movie before, and I didn't really have expectations for it. But I don't think that it was necessarily a bad movie. I enjoyed it. While the execution probably wasn't the best, I liked the direction that they went with it. How you go through the entire movie and she's trying to basically solve this mystery of the tape and all of that, and then she thinks that the end goal is to help Samara. But it's like that kind of twist at the end where it's like, hey, you just let the bitch out to do more harm than good. And I think, like I said, the execution could have been a lot better because it wasn't that much of like a shocking twist. But I enjoyed that. I think some characters, the acting wasn't awful. It was good. I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot of likes for this movie. It's not something that I would watch over and over again.
Yeah.
But I could see myself watching this movie again. Because as we talked about horror movies going through that this is starting to get better phase, I think it really does hold up with that. Hey, we're doing good with horror movies now. And I don't know, I enjoyed it. I don't have a lot of like in-depth likes though. It's a mediocre horror movie to me. Like, wasn't super super scary, but it had those moments of like, hey, this is unsettling.
I think one of the big things for horror for me, like as I was growing up, I think the first horror movies you watch as a kid, a young adult, whatever, like I think part of the fear is not necessarily that the things in it are scary, but it's something that lasts with you. And I think this movie definitely accomplishes that. Like, no matter how many times you've seen this movie, I think there's something that sticks with you. The idea of like, oh, hey, shit, what's this movie we're gonna watch, right? And it's just kind of like, it sticks with you a little bit. It's not enough to keep you up at night, but it's just like, hey, this movie could kill me if I watch the wrong one.
Right.
I definitely think that it does a good job at like instilling something real into you. And back to that like street level marketing thing where they're putting VHS tapes on people's cars, like it's again because it's something that sticks, and I think that's really impactful. I think that I really want to sit on the effects because the editing in this was super phenomenal. It was super easy to watch. Like, not that horror movies feel good, but there was a good feel to this movie. Everything flowed the way that it was supposed to. It was super, like, it followed a super clean progression. I think the movie was well crafted for what it was, which still is above average, but not super great horror movie. The other thing too that that like these guys kind of talked about was there's a plot to it. It wasn't just cheap jump scares. It wasn't just the face of something gross and terrifying, right? Like, even when towards the end and they're taking the girl's body out of the well, right? There's no jump scare. There's no fear. It's not that her face is dilapidated or deformed. It's continuing to follow a plot. And I think it holds your attention even when it's not terrifying, which I think is actually really, really difficult for a horror movie to do.
Mm-hmm. I think this is the first one with an actual plot, like a serious plot that we've watched. And I think that Of my movie, Stallman. I see your face.
I don't know. Scream.
Not really, though.
Not really.
Like,
No,
that plot is a 2-sentence summary, right? Like, yes, it follows a linear train, but it's not like it's a complex thought process, right?
Which we forgot to say the plot of this goddamn thing.
Oh, yeah. Videotape murders you. Background story, his girl dies, now kills other people, and then it just
7 days.
terrorizes the world. Yeah, it's not... You've seen The Ring. Yeah, everybody knows the plot to The Ring. It's fine.
Yeah.
You've seen Scary Movie, you've seen The Ring.
I mean...
That's obviously a meme. But, Cindy, your TV's leaking! Like, that's it. That's the plot. But no, I do think though that like the way that this grips you is not necessarily just raked in fear, but it is the ability to follow a plot, which is not super easy to be both unsettling or scary and engaging.
Right. And I mean, I feel like for me, watching this now as opposed to when I was younger, like obviously I think that this would have a different effect on younger children. Like it's going to be maybe a little bit scarier.
Oh yeah.
But watching it now, like it doesn't, from all the movies that I've seen recently regarding horror, it's not scary. It's just, but it's unsettling. But I like that about it.
As a 12 or 13-year-old, I'm never turning on the TV again. Last night, after we finished watching the movie, the first thing I did was lay in bed and turn on American Dad and watch TV. Like, it's not...
Especially now, like, I don't know if it would necessarily... My thing is, would it hold up in making people scared of, like, VHS tapes? Because that's not a thing anymore.
Well, yeah, so as we're going to switch into negatives, because that's my first point, I think.
Okay.
The concept of this movie would hold up. The execution of this movie does not hold up. Partially in the sense of, like, VHS tapes, right? But also, like... so much of their time researching and looking into things and just the availability of information, like you could have found it on the internet. Like,
well, sorry,
it wasn't super popular in 2002. Like, not everybody had a home computer at that point, so it wasn't just I can go on a Google search, right? If she wasn't a journalist working in a newspaper or a magazine, I don't know that they ever specified thoroughly, but like if she
have a harder time.
Right. Like, she can't just sit in the comfort of her living room and do that research. They're analyzing a VHS tape to figure out what kind of recording device it came from, right? Like, these are things that do not hold up in 2023 because we have advanced to Blu-ray and digital media.
Which is why in the third one, it's actually a viral video.
Right, but that's, like I said, that's my point, is just that, like, if they remade this movie... you couldn't remake it shot for shot because there are so many outdated mediums that would need to get replaced. Right. The other part is to get back to the plot. I think there are pieces of this plot that stretch your believability. I don't think it impacts your ability to watch the movie, enjoy it, or follow the plot, but I think that there are certain things that are just kind of a stretch. So take, for instance... the moment the main character goes to visit her daughter's friend in the psych ward, right? That friend knows the progression of on the 6th day, she tells you why she's going to kill you on the 7th day. That wasn't something that was communicated. It wasn't something that was established information. She just, well, I went insane, so I know it now. It's things that are easy to overlook. It creates that sense of discomfort and advances the plot, but it's not a thing that character should know.
Yeah.
I also think that there are some tropes in it that just kind of extend the plot unnecessarily. Like, so take for in the videotape, right? There's a centipede, right? A giant centipede that crawls out from under a piece of furniture. Well, as she's looting through the guy's house, who very clearly knew she was there, then like there's a centipede in it again. That had nothing to do with the movie itself, all of the reasons that Samara had died or was, I don't know if tortured is quite the right word, but made to suffer. That, like, why would that be part of the tape? The Fly didn't make any sense at all in either part of it, except for the fact that they wanted to make something of her pulling it off the screen so it seemed surreal. Like, there's just things about this that are an extension of kind of miraculous over the top plot. Same with the twist ending. I'm not here to say that the ending was bad. I think it was the most enjoyable way this movie could have ended. But I also recognize that, like, nope, there's little kids just out for blood, eat shit world. Like, that, I mean, it's just kind of a way to stretch the plot to be longer in a way that doesn't benefit the narrative.
Also, that kid could have, like, warned his mom.
Yeah, no, okay, that kid knew way too fucking much, dude. That kid was, like, the fact that he called her Rachel the entire time, staring her deadpan in the face, strung out eyes, like the kid's been doing heroin for years, and he's just, you shouldn't have done that, Rachel. Like, why'd they have to make this kid so fucking creepy? It served no goddamn purpose. Fucking stupid.
That's one of my dislikes. My biggest dislikes of this movie is the lack of details. I don't remember if it was mentioned, but we don't go into details about how this kid knew prior to his cousin dying that she was going to die. This kid just knew all this shit. He hadn't even watched the video until his mom brought it into their home. Like, there was no details on that. There was no details of where Samara came from. Nope, like, there was nothing. It lacked detail in a lot of the story, that it just felt like you didn't have any information on why this was happening. Yeah, we got the plot of why there was a videotape and she was murdering people and all that, and it makes you think, oh, she's a victim, and then turns out she's not. But I just wish that there was like, in certain spots could have been cut out to just give more information, and I think it would have made it just a little bit better. I don't like plot holes in stories.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like I said, they added details in certain places that were for you, the viewer, and not necessarily for someone watching to understand. And part of it, too, I think, is the idea that we go back and forth from unsettling horror to murder mystery and back to unsettling horror. Like,
right.
if you're missing plot holes and it's just unsettling, like, yeah, okay, nobody cares about plot holes. I mean, we watched fucking Texas Chainsaw, and, like, that's, like, there is no plot. It's just, this guy with a chainsaw is going to murder you. Everything doesn't make any sense. It doesn't, right. Like, it's fine. But if you're going to create it around a plot, you should probably develop your plot and put the details there instead of making people unsettled. Go ahead, Stallman. I'm watching you chew on your fucking lip before you put a hole in it. Let's get it.
All right, first of all, they did mention that the kid's, like, talking to Samara.
But they didn't mention why.
Well, and it's...
They didn't mention why, yeah.
No, and it's also after the fact. Again, like, he's doing the drawings in class about, like, yep, we knew she was going to die. He's been drawing these for weeks, even though she only died 3 days ago. Like, it's the same kind of... They're adding it to make you uncomfortable, not to make it make sense.
But yeah, that being said, I guess I'll go with my dislikes. All right. What the fuck is this dude's fucking name again? Grey's Anatomy fucking guy. Martin Henderson.
Oh.
All right. I understand that he's supposed to be like a immature, cocky dipshit, but, like, he's so fucking goddamn annoying in this as this, like, an immature, cocky fucking dipshit. Like, I literally cannot stand his freaking character in this movie at all. And yes, my favorite death scene in this, besides Brian Cox's, which is amazing.
Bro, that's a fucking event.
Overkill is what it was.
Oh, you're goddamn right. But, man, he put on a fireworks show in his fucking bathroom, dude. He had that shit ready to go.
But, yeah, like, I'm really glad that the father dies in this, because he's very freaking annoying throughout this, and I'm just like, every time he's on screen, I'm just like, can this scene be fucking over? Just please get him off. um, that being said, most of this movie is, I guess, there are unsettling parts, but I think the fact that there isn't really a lot of scares, and the fact that it does jump from unsettling to murder mystery, and the fact that that does have its plot holes, it kind of has certain things drag, and the movie itself feels kind of boring to me. And it also doesn't help, which is the biggest gripe I have with a lot of horror films during this time. They have that really, really dull fucking color palette. And when you have a movie that's very subtle, and you have that, and here's the thing, I don't mind, like, in creepy moments, you have that, like, dull green color palette, because it works well with Saw while in, like, that confined space where they're in the bathroom and everything. Like, it works well in that. It definitely works well on in this movie when it comes to them being in the well, or other certain parts where they're designed to make the film unsettling, but they have this color palette throughout the entire thing. Like, she's like picking up her kid from school, and it's still this dull, freaking nihilistic, edgy color palette. And it's just, you see the same color basically through the whole entire film, that it's just like, visually, it's just ugly.
I want to push back on that just a little bit. And the reason that I disagree about that, like, it's not unsettling for her to pick up her kid from school, right? And I get it. But so much of this movie is like, you don't know where the next thing is going to come from, right? Like, I think it's the most predictable horror movie thing in the world for her to push the girl's hair away while they're in the bottom of this fucking well and she's gonna die. Like, they've been working to it for the whole movie that this is her 7th day, it's sundown, she's just about to die. She picks this body up out of the water while trapped in a well, she pushes away the hair, and it's just a perfectly normal kid. Like, I mean, I feel like part of that, like, if we make it look unsettling the whole time, you can't be expecting it when it comes out of the blue. Every time that phone rings, dude, it shatters your spine. You can know it's coming, and it's still really unsettling. They do a very good job at making it loud and noticeable and in the way, right? That, like, again, stop. You talked shit about this movie before we started it. I know you're out on it. I get your fucking beef with the color palette, right? But so many of those places were like, hey, it's a perfectly normal, bright, sunny day in this apartment. And then the phone jars you in the fucking ears because it was quiet. And all of a sudden now, hey, you're about to die. And I'm giving you a phone call to say so. Like, I think the fact that you don't know where it's coming from, I think contributes to that green tone being okay.
I'm just someone that, it's just a gripe I have with horror films from that time period, and they still do that green color palette. Like, it's has that color palette hasn't been done to death, I probably wouldn't be sick of it, if that makes sense.
I'm just saying, like, if you only put the green parts in when you're about to get scared of something, they might as well put up a flashing neon sign that says, hey, jump scare in 3, 2, 1. Right? Like, if you put it in random places that make you feel unsettled the whole time, I think that it, like, keeps you on your toes. I think it serves value.
That works at random places, but not like the entire movie.
I implore you to watch this again, and, like, there's so many scenes they don't use it. It's not. I know it's at the beginning and it sets the tone for you, and because you hate it, and I get it, but it's not there the entire time. Anyway, next dislike, por favor.
I can't take Brian Cox serious.
Oh yeah, no shot.
I'm sorry, but, like, he's either the uncle in The Ringer, or he is the police chief in Super Troopers.
Yeah,
I understand that he's been in a lot of serious stuff. He is a very good actor. However, those two movies, typecast him for me.
Yep, they get in the way of everything.
That being said, I will say this much right here. I came into this movie with very, very low expectations because everybody says this is the bad one because everybody loves the original quite a bit that are, like, hardcore horror fans. they always say like this movie's shitty. It really isn't. It's not. Like, despite my bitching and complaining about it while we were watching it, about like, oh, this is dragging, and making fun of certain parts about it, it's really not terrible. Is it as terrifying as the original? No, but I will say this, it's definitely worth a watch, and honestly, people should really give it a chance. It's not dog shit, is what like a lot of people say it is. I think a lot of it has to do with like just people comparing the two movies, and they're really two different entities, and you can't really compare them a whole lot. They're just two adaptations of the same book, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
Well, the remake for a reason.
I do have one last dislike that I would be remiss if I, of all people, did not bring up cinematography. I know. I thought, like, for the most part, this movie was shot really well. I thought camera angles were good. They used a really good job, like, determining how much light you needed for a given scene. Like, you saw things the way that you were supposed to. The one, like, filmmaking critique that I have for this is there are several places that use complete and total silence. That it's jarring. So the first time I noticed it was when she went to go pick up her son from school, and she just wants to walk in and just be like, yeah, fuck off, her cousin died 3 days ago, leave my kid alone. And the teacher's like, no, I'm really concerned about him. And there's not like hopeful, uplifting music behind the teacher. There's not just this like angry, aggressive, whatever. There's not even fucking ambient noise from the school. It is dead silence, and the only thing in the entire fucking scene is those two voices. It's so goddamn quiet. It does it a couple of times. It's not consistent through the movie, but there's like 2 or 3 scenes where it's like, please, somebody make any fucking noise at all. Tap your fucking foot so I can hear that the universe exists outside of your voice. Fuck.
Yeah, but doesn't that add to the atmosphere of making you feel uncomfortable, though?
In the right scene?
Like,
absolutely.
There's some places that it's jarring and it's just like aggressively a bad choice. There's some places that it absolutely contributes, but there are also places in this movie where it's like you're not intended to be uncomfortable. Like it's just I don't know. I will say that alternatively too, Stallman, that there are several places they use that fucking violin screech like you're about to get fucking terrified, and then it's just John exists. Like it's just like, and there I think that one's less egregious for me for the same reason that the green tint is for you, that like if they lead you to believe it, you're always on your toes and it remains engaging. The complete and total silence sucked a couple of different times.
Yeah, I can see that. I was just making the counter argument because, like...
No, I don't blame you, because, like I said, in some parts that actually works. This movie is very engaging. Like, I know that you said that there are places that drag, and I certainly understand it, but like, I think that way that you don't, in the way that you don't know where the next scare, quote unquote, is coming from, the next point of discomfort, like, it does do a great job at like the things that you expect to be scary are not. They build up to things that aren't going to scare you and then all of a sudden jolt you. Like, they do a good job at that, where like every moment of this movie is important.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have anything else before we wrap this one up?
Mm-mm.
All right.
No.
It's honestly at least worth like a one watch. I mean, I probably really want to watch this again, but like if I'm like over at somebody's house and it's on, I'm not gonna bitch about it.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just saying, I think I could watch this. Like, there are movies I can watch over and over again. This is something I could watch probably here and there, like, in about maybe a year, 2. I could probably sit down and watch it again. It's just not something that's entertaining enough to sit and watch over and over. But I think it's worth it.
Yeah,
I do think
it
was a really good movie.
Stallman, can you just hit me with one before we get out of here for funny number? Perfect.
That being said, I will say this much: this movie is definitely
damn it,
more engaging.
Don't count it.
And entertaining than the original Blair Witch Project. I'll say that.
All right. Anyway, I think that wraps us up here. Next week we come back with Stallman's Classics. And then, so as always, you can hop in Discord with us on Tuesdays. I don't know if we'll watch on Tuesdays or if we'll watch them like randomly by the time that this video gets posted, but we watch videos in the Discord. We watch movies, so you can come in there and hang out. The link will be in the description. And if you're interested in any of our individual content, you can find all of us on Twitch. Stallman at Traductus, Hayley at Hayley_bug18, and myself at Ted Green Eagles. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you here next week on Monday.
Yep. See ya.
Bye.